Welcome to Atlantic Cape Community College's Regulated Medical Waste Program Training. Atlantic Cape Community College has developed a regulated medical waste plan to protect its students, faculty, and staff from potential physical and biological hazards associated with the generation, storage, and disposal of medical waste. What is regulated medical waste? New Jersey solid waste regulations define regulated medical waste as solid waste that is generated in the diagnosis, treatment, or immunization of human beings or animals, in the research pertaining thereto, or in the production or testing of biologicals. Regulated medical waste at Atlantic Cape's campuses is primarily generated in the microbiology and biology laboratories, the Health Professionals Institute, and the nursing department. Security and facilities or housekeeping can also generate regulated medical waste from the activities of rendering first aid or cleaning up blood or other potentially infectious materials. Typically, regulated medical waste consists of the following, but is not limited to: blood-soaked bandages, culture dishes and other glassware, discarded surgical gloves and surgical instruments contaminated with blood or other potentially infectious material, discarded needles used to give shots or draw blood, cultures, stocks, swabs used to inoculate cultures, removed body organs, or discarded lancets. Sharps segregation. Not all discarded sharps fit the definition of regulated medical waste. Sharps or needles generated by HPI while practicing blood draws on human volunteers are managed as regulated medical waste and must be put in a sharps container clearly marked as contaminated regulated medical waste because they have been contaminated with blood. Sharps generated by HPI or nursing while practicing solely on demonstration mannequins are also placed in sharps containers clearly marked as uncontaminated or overclassified because they have not been contaminated by blood. Both contaminated and uncontaminated sharps are placed in puncture-resistant plastic boxes designed and labeled for sharps disposal. Only designated containers are to be used. No other box or container can be used. If a contaminated sharp is put into a container of uncontaminated sharps, the entire container is now regulated medical waste. Why do we segregate sharps? A generator means a person by site whose act or process produces regulated medical waste as defined in the regulations, or whose act first causes a regulated medical waste to become subject to regulation. Each of Atlantic Cape's campuses are considered generators. However, the class of generator depends on the amount of regulated medical waste generated at each campus. Sharps and other materials that do not meet the definition of regulated medical waste are not figured into the annual regulated medical waste thresholds. The Atlantic City campus is a Class II generator, meaning it generates between 50 and 200 pounds of regulated medical waste per year. The Mays Landing campus is also a Class II generator. Currently, the Cape May campus is a Class I generator, which generates less than 50 pounds of regulated medical waste per year. This classification may change with the nursing classes that are now being held at this campus. At the Mays Landing campus, the nursing labs routinely generate sharps solely from demonstration or practice mannequins or other simulation devices. Students do not practice on humans or animals, so there is no blood contamination, and the sharps are not regulated medical waste. Regulated medical waste sharps that are expected to be generated in Mays Landing are sharps from needle stick accidents, when security has been asked to dispose of needles or lancets from staff or student self-administration of medications, scalpel accidents, or broken glassware or microscope slides that have cut someone, or any other sharp object that has caused an injury and has blood on it and is small enough to fit in a sharps container. Uncontaminated or overclassified sharps will be disposed of in sharps containers clearly labeled as such. If a sharps container is not labeled otherwise, it will be considered regulated medical waste. At the Atlantic City campus, HPI and the paramedics program routinely generate sharps, some of which are solely from demonstrations on mannequins or other demonstration devices. If there is no blood contamination, the sharps are not regulated medical waste. Regulated medical waste sharps are generated from phlebotomy and paramedic practicum when students practice on human volunteers, or needle stick accidents when security has been asked to dispose of needles or lancets from staff or student self-administration of medication, scalpel accidents and broken glassware or microscope slides that have cut someone, or any other sharp object that has caused an injury and has blood on it and is small enough to fit in a sharps container. Uncontaminated and overclassified sharps will be disposed of in sharps containers clearly labeled as such. If a sharps container is not labeled otherwise, it is considered regulated medical waste. At the Cape May campus, the nursing labs routinely generate sharps solely from demonstration or practice on mannequins or other simulation devices. Students do not practice on humans or animals, so there is no blood contamination, so the sharps are not regulated medical waste. Regulated medical waste sharps expected to be generated in Cape May are the same as those generated in Mays Landing, and uncontaminated and overclassified sharps will be disposed of in sharps containers clearly labeled as such. If a sharps container is not labeled otherwise, it will be considered regulated medical waste. Packaging and labeling. Do not use regulated medical waste marked red bags or disposal boxes for any other waste or purpose other than for their intended use. Any bag or box labeled as a biohazard or containing the universal biohazard symbol will be managed as regulated medical waste. The regulated medical waste must be placed in strong, rigid, and leak-resistant disposable boxes with additional identification requirements. The regulated medical waste disposal vendor provides corrugated boxes with plastic liners for this purpose. Do not use any other box. Store the regulated medical waste in a manner and location that maintains the integrity of the packaging and provides protection from the elements. Maintain the regulated medical waste in a non-putrescent state using refrigeration if necessary. However, any type of waste or chemicals must never be put in a refrigerator meant for food storage. Lock any outdoor storage areas containing regulated medical waste to prevent unauthorized access. Limit access to the on-site storage areas only to authorized employees. Store the regulated medical waste in a manner that provides protection from animals and does not provide a breeding place or a food source for insects or rodents. Dispose of regulated medical waste immediately if it becomes putrescent, and store regulated waste for no longer than 1 year. Containers for regulated medical waste must be rigid, leak-resistant, impervious to moisture, sufficiently strong to prevent tearing or bursting under normal conditions of use and handling, sealed to prevent leakage during transport, puncture-resistant for packaging sharps and sharps with residual fluids, and break-resistant and tightly lidded or stoppered for packaging fluids. Solid waste that is not managed as regulated medical waste shall not be packaged for shipment inside regulated medical waste containers or in containers attached to or part of a regulated medical waste container. Oversized regulated medical waste need not be placed in containers. Transporters. Generators must use only medical waste transporters who are registered with NJDEP's Solid Waste Compliance and Enforcement and who possess a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity from NJDEP. Currently, Atlantic Cape uses Medflex, a transporter that meets these requirements, which brings all medical waste to a licensed disposal facility. Tracking waste shipments. All waste is shipped using an NJDEP supplied regulated medical waste tracking form. The form is initiated by Atlantic Cape and requires information regarding the waste being shipped. A representative of security, HPI, nursing, and the science departments, or the compliance officer, must sign the tracking form to certify that the waste has been properly managed and packaged for shipment. The Atlantic Cape representative signing the tracking form must be trained according to U.S. DOT requirements for hazardous materials pursuant to the federal regulations at least once every 3 years, and the training must be current. If you have any questions or concerns regarding medical waste, regulated medical waste, or any other compliance questions, please contact Mary Simpson, the compliance officer, at msimpson@atlanticcape.edu or at 609-343-5112. Thank you.